Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Back to the Mama Genius Hub podcast. I got Sarah here with me today, and we're going to talk about stress. Well, really, how to de-stress it all. And so let me go ahead and introduce Sara Nakamura is an international speaker with 2 best-selling books and stress relief specialist with over 2 decades of experience in hospitality and wellness industry. Sarah, stress expert, who specializes in stress relief solutions made simple to help you simply smile again. Isn't that amazing? Welcome, Sarah. I'm so excited to have you here.
Michelle, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share with everybody here.
I had to pause for a second because somehow I had my YouTube open and then you're playing on both screens and I'm like, feel like Home Alone. But now it's just the two of us chatting. So now, welcome everyone. I'm glad we're here. We're going to talk about, see, what happens when you get stressed. But rather than get to thinking, I finished reading the whole thing while I was talking to myself. I could hear the back lag. I was proud of myself for getting through that. It's because I had your colleague presence in front of me. So welcome, Sarah. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much. And, here's the thing. You never know when stress is going to strike. And, when we think about what our why is, when it's ingrained in us, and when we go, hey, you know what? The thing is we just get through it. And that's exactly what you did. So great job.
Thank you. And it must have just been meant to be because all of a sudden it's like, I got Sarah in here and I'm like, ah. So speaking of whys, we're going to dig straight in. And what is your why to wanting to work with helping people with stress and doing all this? Where did it stem from?
Good question. So many times we, get into a field because we've either done it, experienced it, or had a bad experience with something, right? And so for me as a young child, I actually grew up pretty stressed, which, you won't think of as kids being stressed out. But, at a young age, I overheard my uncles talking about another uncle and, the things that they were saying about him. I just knew that I couldn't share my entire life, everything of who I am, and I just stuffed things down. And I'm from Hawaii, and I have a partially Asian culture, and we're really good at stuffing down our feelings. And so I was taught that as a young kid. And as you may know, many mamas out there, what happens as young kids, we take with us for the rest of our lives. And most of everything that we do as far as our synapses or, the way we learn is actually constructed and, really put together by the time we're a teenager. And so our thought processes, how we act and react shape our lives. And, for me being really introverted and not expressing myself, as I got older, as I became an adult, I started having, these challenges in my body, in my emotions. And how it looked is when I walked into work, I was so stressed that I would have heart palpitations. My heart would just, and my breath got short. My hair, like I would put my hands through my hair and my hair would just kind of come out. And I had no idea that those were stress related things. I had no idea that all the hours that I was putting in over and over was really contributing to negative health. And, like many people, if you've gone to college or just out of a school, I got my first job. I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was checking off all the success boxes, that great job out of college and long-term relationship. I thought I was in good health because I was running half marathons with my trusty dog. But, one day when I was walking into work and all of those things started coming back up for me, the heart palpitations, the shortness of breath, I didn't realize that I was actually having a breakdown. And if you can just relate to having that kind of experience of having a breakdown and not knowing that it was stress related. And I didn't know it was until I really, gosh, it's really difficult to talk about sometimes when you have that breakdown, because when you start to recall it, it starts to come back into your body. And when we're connected to emotions, that's what happens. And so many people these days are disconnected from their emotions and disconnected to their bodies, that we just kind of live life kind of just in this nowhere land a lot of times. And then we wake up and go, hey, what happened yesterday? Because we're kind of disassociated with things. And so for me, I was having such this breakdown in life that I realized it was stress induced, and I didn't want anybody else to suffer in silence. And so when that happened, I pretty much said, all right, how do I help myself? And so I went to the most relaxing job I could think of, was massage therapy. And so now that I've helped thousands and thousands of people, I've continued that path through my book, through the pandemic, when one of our colleagues unfortunately took her own life and left behind 3 children. And when that came into our lives, and I say we, me and my partner Rachel, we do this work together to help people to connect to their bodies, to connect to their emotions, so that you don't have to suffer in silence. And that's why we talk about bringing the smiles back, because that's where we want to get back to. So, long story, Michelle, that's my why.
Well, I love that. And I love how you say it's like the Asian culture, you know how to shut that down. I feel like that's all of us, right? We know how to like shut that down. I think that's what drove me to do what I want to do, is because I felt like as a kid, like I just didn't have that outlet of anyone to talk to. So I kept in all my feelings, because I had my mom and my sister who had bigger emotions than I did. So there didn't feel like any room for my own to be expressed. And so I feel like a lot of us who get into this is like realizing that we need to have an outlet for that and a way to do that. And I love that you bring back with the smiles of it all. So let's go dive into the smiles of it all.
Yeah. And sometimes it's funny, because sometimes we don't feel like smiling. And, sometimes people talk about, fake it till you make it. Well, I look at it from a different perspective. I look at it from the perspective of, what emotion do you want to exude? And, if you want to be broody, if you want to be sad, that's okay, because there's times for those emotions. There really are. And, you and I both have experienced, a passing of somebody close to us recently. And, we share those moments together. And, although we didn't know each other before, it's something that bonded us. And, I feel like I know you so much more, and there's so much we have in common, because we can bring out that sadness and utilize that emotion and go, okay, there's a time for that. Okay. And now let's let it pass, rather than stuff it down. We let it pass. And so if you want to bring the smile out, it's not fake it till you make it. It's, hey, where's that smile? Where can it come up from? Can it come from my body? Can it come from my mouth? And sometimes just simply looking at somebody in the eyes and smiling at them, even though you're not feeling it, they feel it. And that can bring a smile to their face. And then when they genuinely smile, wow, now I get to smile because it's legitimate. You know what I mean? And then that's where that connection draws up even more and brings us all up.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think the more you talk, the more I'm like, wow, we have a lot in common, even when we're talking about the gifts that we offer and just the way that we approach different things. And I had something that was in my head that just, floated away, but I'm sure it'll float back, that we had one more commonality in there. But I really want to dive into like some of those ideas of, okay, so where does smile come from? But when you're stuck in that moment of, like you said, that's what it was, is the feeling, right? What do you want to feel? And that's actually what I did, a solo podcast on that as well, talking about what feelings do we want to feel more of in 2024. And so our goals, or anything we should do, be based on how do we feel more of that, and looking at those lists. And so that's why I want to dive into more with you, is how do we adjust our making those plans or filling that out to how can we feel more of those feelings?
Well, I think it's being inclusive of all of the other feelings that we do have. Number one, making sure that we, whatever feelings we're going through, depending on the situation, because whatever warrants the situation is kind of what we need to feel at that time, right? Because if I was going around feeling happy and excited all the time, and somebody was going through something really serious, that wouldn't quite be very good for them as well, would it? And it wouldn't be very sympathetic on my part. And here's the thing, personally, I'm a highly sensitive person, so I'm very empathetic to a lot of situations. And so I take on people's emotions, if you don't know what highly sensitive is. And so if somebody around me is sad, I tend to get sad very quickly. So being a massage therapist, a lot of times what happens is, when somebody's going through an emotion, I have to put up a boundary and I have to protect myself. And so that happens with kids, right? So, your kids come home and they're in this bad mood. You're like, what happened? How can I help you? And so you really, have to have a little bit of a boundary, but you can have this understanding and awareness. Okay, my child's going through this. How can I assist? Maybe it's not saving them, but it's also maybe, like you said, letting them express themselves. And sometimes they don't feel like they have enough room to express themselves with whatever emotion. And if you give them that space, that's a huge thing for any human, but especially for kids, right? So taking that back to ourselves, that's how we kind of go, okay, what emotion do I want to exude? Maybe it's a feeling of being confident. I'm confidently going to listen to you. I'm confidently going to let you share, because we don't always have to have the answers. And, the answers are within ourselves. And I can talk about, the eye care system that I have in my book. And I'll just briefly go over that real quick. Is the eye care system is a filter. And in my book, Stressed Out and Don't Know What to Do, the quick filter it's an acronym called eye care. And the first I is go inside of yourself. Whenever we have not only stress, but any challenge or problem that arises in our lives, take that moment, as we did right before we came on here. We took a deep breath. And if it's comfortable, sometimes close your eyes, get back into your body. What's the problem? What's really going on? Where is that answer? And that answer could be off the top of your head. It could be a gut feeling. It could be, okay, I know the resource to go to get it. And you don't have to have it, but you know where to connect to get it, right?
Yeah.
And then the C is contain the problem. Sometimes we make, a mountain out of, just this small little molecule of a problem. And then we tack on, well, there's this and this and this. Just contain the problem, whatever that is. And it sounds like it's so simple, and it can be, but we overthink a lot of times. We're human. And the A is have that awareness. What else is going on? What else do we need to just process out or shove out or just shut the door on? Have that awareness of what's really happening. A lot of times it's because we're tired, we're hungry. And so we're elevated in our emotions. So have that awareness of what's going on for yourself. And then R in the eye care system is realign your values really quickly. What's important to you? Earlier, what's important to you is to, hey, let's get this broadcast going. I want to share with my mamas. You know what I mean? That's what was important for you at the time. It wasn't important for you to go, okay, well, is this connection right? Is the YouTube here? Because that wasn't as important as like, hey, let's just get out there and let's share with everybody, right? So you took that value and you put that at the top of your list, and we got right through it, right? And when you made that decision, what's that?
I just said exactly, yeah.
And then when you made that decision, this is the perfect example of the eye care system. You made that decision, you're like, I got this. And you made it with E, energy, excitement, enthusiasm, and you went with it. And it was the right decision for you at that moment. And you know what? Sometimes we do things and we go, that's great. And then we go, I could have done that better. But you know what? I did it perfectly in that moment. So that's the eye care system. Nice and easy.
I'm typing that into chat, right? System for people to get that eye care, and then go through. Can you just go through the letters one more time quickly so we have that remembrance of it? I love the synopsis of it. It's a teacher in me that like just make sure, because I know especially people are listening while they're doing something, just that reminder what each letter stands for.
Of course. I love to make things simple. Again, we over process, we make things difficult in life. So when we bring it down, make it simple, we relieve that stress. So the eye care system is I, go inside yourself. C, contain the problem. A, have awareness. R, realign your values. And E, make your decisions with energy, excitement, enthusiasm.
I love that with excitement, because a lot of times we miss that, and we try to like make everything so serious, and it's hard to make things serious when you're excited about it. At least I find that way. It kind of leaves it like when the kids are open, you like start to act silly. You're like, hey, and they're just like, okay, mom. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep at it until you join me, and eventually they're like jumping off the rails or something. But I think like when you're excited about something, it's hard to be serious about it. And sometimes we need to let go of some of that adult responsibility, seriousness that we don't actually need, which I think releases the stress and brings the smiles.
It's absolutely true. When I was going through massage school, somebody had really deep emotions that were going on. And, as you go through muscle manipulation and let go of, help somebody to let go of their stress, most people have their tension in their shoulders, right? Shoulders or neck. And I helped this person to release that tension, that physical tension in their body. And they started laughing. And I went, what is that? And it's because we are so serious so many times, and there's a lot of science behind this, but it's called an somatic emotional release, SER. And when we let go of those things, that tenseness, what starts to come up to the surface? Well, we start to detox and some negative things come out. But then underneath that, we go, oh, and we release it. And then sometimes when people get really tense, they laugh because they need to let go of that tension. It's like letting the air out of a balloon, So we have to let it go, or else we'll pop. And we don't want to pop. We don't want to have those breakdowns. We have too much of that in life anyway. So when we can let the air out, we let the air out.
I love that so much, because it's like as we start to expand and you just feel that pressure. And if you let it out, then instead of holding it in, but I feel like we do have that seriousness. I know I'm so guilty of that. So I've been trying to be, like, as I put it, more goofy with the kids, and it actually is more fun. And then they're looking, going, "Oh, you're at it again, Mom, aren't you?" But then they roll their eyes and then they start doing it.
Exactly, because states are contagious. Our emotional state, the things that we do, they rub off on people. And again, if we're always sad or brooding, obviously there's something that we need to go through with that. So we have to take a look at that, have that awareness. But when we are able to make more choices and better choices to get the things that we want, going back to what you were asking earlier, how do you go to the emotion that you want, more of what you want in 2024, right? Hey, if you want to roar in 24, then unleash that inner lion in yourself, and always have that at the top of your mind. So it starts with your morning routine. We've talked about this. And the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if you can start your morning, the first thing that you do is, before you even wake up, what's the first thought that goes through your head? Most of us, our alarm clock goes off, and we go, oh, I need to snooze. I'm tired. I didn't get enough sleep. What's my to-do list? Oh, you have 20,000 thoughts throughout the entire day. And those are the first couple that you have. Well, what's the rest of your day going to look like if you start your day off that way? But if you hear your alarm and it's a good sound, you go, oh, I love that sound. I love that music. Oh, that allows me to go, okay, what's my day going to look like? And if the first thing is an affirmation, whatever the affirmation is for you, it can be anything. For me, I've had some negative health in the past. So for me, I wake up and I go, I am healthy. And, the back pain, the knee pain, the neck pain, the shoulder pain that I've experienced in the past, not that it's completely gone, but it gets me through that morning. And so a morning routine is so important.
I love that too. And I hear, and I want to just put this out there, because this is what I've heard from moms. Like, well, my kids wake me up. I don't have time for that stuff. And which is why I think we both have the same kind of gift of that morning. And it doesn't have to be this long, hour-long morning routine. I mean, we can reduce this to even a minute, in terms of just, how do you take care of yourself? One mom had said that, well, my kid lays next to me and I don't want to move. So my suggestion was to her, well, before you wake up, before you start, just give yourself 2 deep breaths. Just tell yourself something in your head without moving, but make a decision in what that is, on how you want to start your day, rather than your day being started for you. I always find that. And what's funny about the alarm is, I actually found that I like to sleep with my watch on. So it just vibrates actually as an alarm. And I found that just so much more therapeutic for me to wake up. So I would just recommend experimenting with different types of ways to wake yourself up, because it's finding one that works for you. So and honestly, lately I woke up 15 minutes before my alarm this morning, and it's an early alarm. And I was like, oh, I have a little bit of time. So I laid in bed for a little bit, but then the cat was at my feet and I couldn't move. So I just petted him for a little bit and then got up.
And that's great. And that's the thing. I mean, everybody has something different that goes on in their lives, and if you've got, your child next to you and you go, you know what? I want to enjoy this moment now, because when they're a teenager, this is not going to be happening, so it's about the perspective we have on things. And sometimes it's not as easy. I get it. It's not. But if we do consciously, move toward that and go, oh, that beautiful breath, even though it doesn't smell that great, is, like it just, oh, the snuggles, the warmthness, whatever that is, because, the only thing that's constant in life is change and, the inevitable death, so what we have in front of us is important, and how we view it is really important too.
I feel like I just need to breathe that in for a second.
Yeah.
I think we just need to be reminded that as much as we can, I mean, just it's hard when being a mom with everything coming at you, but then it's looking at, rather, it's how you look at it with the things that are there. And I love how you said with that perspective is you have that same situation, but it's how you look at it that makes all the difference. And you're right, it's not easy at times, but the more we try to do it, then the more the perspective does change. So my next question for you, let's see if we can get deep diving down.
Sure, let's go deep, because when we go deep, when we get beneath the surface, that's when we really start, uncovering things that we wouldn't have in the past. A lot of times we've had such superficial conversations, and not that those are bad, but when we get deeper and really discuss the things that go on for ourselves, we can get out of that dark space. Because I see a lot of times, I don't want other people to suffer in silence the way I did, because you feel alone. And when you feel alone and isolated, you spend more time underneath the covers, you spend more time crying, you spend more time going, why me? Or why is this happening? As opposed to, oh, I know someone else is going through it. Maybe I can connect to them, or I'm not the only one. Maybe I'm not nuts, or, some other negative things. So yes, let's talk.
Well, actually, as you were talking, I was thinking, what brought you out of being able to start sharing then?
Well, part of it, I think, is a culmination of a lot of things, because I started to take a step forward and then I take 3 steps back, because I figured that the more I shared about my life, the more people are going to go, oh, Sara went through that. Oh, and because we have a lot of judgments, we feel like people are judging us, but even more so, we judge ourselves. And I judged myself for so many things. I was too fat. I wasn't enough this. I wasn't good enough for that. I did so much of that. And I'm still human, and it still creeps up again sometimes. But I have more tools in my tool belt. I've practiced more, where I go, nope, not anymore. And I can, let it go or toss it away, as opposed to just stuff it down where it's going to resurface more and more. And again, the more we stuff it down, it's going to pop up at inopportune times. and so for me, part of it was, the death of my colleague. When she left those 3 kids behind, she had so much going on for her. And the more we found out after her death, the more we could understand the mental health challenges that she had, the physical challenges that she had, the losing of hope during the pandemic, like a lot of people had. But I said in that moment to myself, Sara, if Trish can't talk anymore, then who's going to talk for her? And not that I talk specifically for her, but I talk for people like her that don't have a voice, that can't express to others what's going on for them. And sometimes I'll speak up for other people until they can. And I don't have a problem doing that, because I really wished at some point that someone would have spoken for me when I was suffering so badly. And, honestly, I had a point in my life where I didn't speak for 3 days. A friend of mine took me to the beach, and she just gave me space. And I looked out into the ocean and I said, if I walked out there and didn't come back, I'd be okay with it. And it was that moment that I went, whew, that's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy. Yeah. And as I started getting through that, I started going, oh, I do have something to give to the world. I do have something to share with other people, not just my experiences, but I've done a lot of work, not only through massage therapy, but I trained in neurolinguistics, and then emotional therapies and mental health first aid after that situation, because I wanted to help myself, because I never wanted to help myself before. I wanted to help everybody else. And as you know, being a mom and a caregiver and a teacher and all of those labels that we put onto ourselves, when we help other people, it doesn't mean that we're okay. It actually deflects from us. But we have to be okay first. And we have to fill up our cup first. And if we're filling up our cup with negative things and self-doubt and all of those things that aren't working for us, it's really hard to be in alignment with helping others. And so coming from that perspective, you go, oh, okay, how can I be better? How can I do things different?
I love how you put the word deflection in there, because that is true. And it actually leads us into the thought of I'm busy, because that's also yet another deflection, is when we get lost in everything that we're doing as moms and deflecting off ourselves, that we're focusing on everyone else, but then just, like you said, hiding our own feelings, our own. And I was pointing this out the other day, is just the realization that I forgot exactly what my husband said, but it was along the lines of, well, they're still seeing you do that. So even if you think you're helping your son do it differently, doesn't mean they're not seeing you act that way. We were talking, I believe it was something, it was just a certain behavior that he was doing that I saw myself. And I've been working on trying to do it, but I was just telling him, like, I see myself doing that, but I want to make sure he doesn't turn into me. He's like, well, you got to work on you first. So he sees the better way of doing it. I'm like, oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of times we don't see ourselves, right? We only see ourselves in the mirror when we look. Well, people are seeing around us. They're seeing the 360. And so, if you have something that you want to work on and you're seeing it in your child, it's okay to give yourself permission to go, you know what? I'm working on this. You want to work on this, let's work on it together. Have that communication, because so many times I think, being a business leader, being a parent, if you have your own business or if you work for a corporation, we want to be seen as somebody that knows things. We want to be seen as, what is it? All of the things of, you're the go-to person, you're important, you're,
The expert.
yeah, the expert. Exactly. You can do no wrong, but we have faults and we will do wrong. But if we're making the educated decision and with the best intention is so important. And if we have that intention to do better, people are going to see that. Your kids are going to see that. Your family's going to see that and go, okay, it may not have been the best approach, but you had good intentions behind it.
It's funny, what you made me thinking when you were saying that is that when we look at others, we want to see what mistakes they made to get them where they are. But when we're doing it ourselves, we want it to be perfect and not have any mistakes along the way. And it's funny though, but people relate better to seeing that the mistakes you made as you got there. But we struggle to see that in ourselves. We're like, well, we got to do it right.
Yeah. We want to. We want the ideal, the ideal scenario or situation. We spend a lot of time watching entertainment, watching TV, watching movies, and those are perfect scenarios. And so we think it has to be perfect a lot of times. But we all get the same, 11 million bits of information. But if we only process, each person processes less than 1,000 bits of information at any given time. So imagine that 11 million bits around us. I'm going to take in something different. My filters are different than yours. You're going to hear, see, experience something different than I am. We may have some similarities of what we thought let's say, the movie or story was about, but what we took in is different. And so I think that's why we need mentors. We need coaches. We need someone else that's outside of ourselves, outside of our family, outside of our friend zone, to help us see those things and not having the attachments to us to go, okay, here's what I see. I'm going to help you get the goals that you want.
I think I was just having this conversation today, or it was yesterday, but it was just like, I can't take my own advice sometimes. Like I see it, like, or even I listen to podcasts like, oh, I should probably take in my own advice at that time. But sometimes you're in it too close to be able to do it, which is why you need that outside perspective, which is like, even as coaches, we need coaches. Like no one's exempt from any of this stuff. Like, because we're so ingrained in this. So on that note, we're going to go straight into the 5 questions before we run out of time, because I think the first question leads right into that, which is share your favorite book or research that had a significant impact on your personal journey. Again, going outside of ourselves to get some of that information.
I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use my own book, Stressed Out and Don't Know What to Do. Really, because I created 2-minute techniques to help you to get past your overwhelm, exhaustion, and burnout. This book is me. It's a collection of stories of me and my clients, but so much is from my perspective of the journey that I went through and that I lived, so that I can, help others now, but still have that reflection of helping myself. And and also Wayne Dyer. I love Wayne Dyer. If you change your thoughts, you can change your perspective, you can change your life. So that's had a significant impact on me.
Number 2 for you. What is the way you were able to create connections through your work?
Well, I think connections are super important for anything that we do in life. And being a busy mom, if you're going, if you're looking to find your uniqueness and your genius as you help people do, I think connecting by having support. And support is so important. Again, so many times we think we need to do everything on our own. We need to bear the weight of everybody and everything, right? Reaching out for support, having your backup. When my best friend can't pick up her kid from school, guess who gets to do it? I don't have to, but I get to do it because I'm the support. And so we all need support in our lives. We need that backup plan, because things are going to be messy and we're not going to do things perfectly. So accept support.
Yeah, that is so hard. So I was having a conversation with my husband about that. And so last night I asked him to format something for me. He's like, that wasn't quite what I meant when asking for help. So I thought it'd be a little bit bigger than my formatting skills, but okay, I'll do it. I was like, hey, it's a start. I'm asking.
There you go. You're asking. That's great. And you asked. So, hey, if you want to put parameters on it next time, that's up to you.
Exactly, right? I'm like, hey, this is what you said. I'm doing it.
He'll learn to put parameters himself, right?
I think we've already even touched on this one again, but again, we're opening up the conversation to the answer of always asking, how are you? And either answering, I'm fine, or I'm busy with this. And it seems to be like defining us in terms of I'm just fine hiding it, or in terms of I just got to be busy, busy, busy. Again, as you put deflection. So would you like to add anything else to revamping that?
Sure. I mean, what do you want? For me, when someone says, how are you doing? I go, I'm well. Because, if I'm kind of emotionally in an okay state, not a great state, or health wise, if I'm in an okay state, not a great state, if I say I'm well, I go, oh, I am well. Yes. And then I say it to somebody and then they kind of look at me sideways and go, you're well? Yes, I am. Thank you. And that just reiterates my health, my emotions. And again, bouncing that back. So I think it works really well.
I like that. I like that you get the sideward glance with that too as well. I feel that's what I'm trying to do more. But I still, even as we came on today, it's still a habit ingrained in me, asking the question, how are you? Because you've done it for so long. And I'm like, I'm still doing it, but I'm working on it.
And you can add this. How great are you today? Instead of how are you doing today? How great are you doing today?
And I think that, because what's good with you is what another guest had said that I start using. What's good with you? So it's again, like, I just love this question of trying to refine it, but it is such a habit ingrained, at least in me. I don't know about others, but it's definitely ingrained in me that I am working on.
That's a great awareness. Yes.
Number 4 for you. Describe what genius means to you and what it feels like to live in your genius.
What genius is to me is when I can have my thoughts, my feelings, and they match my actions. Because so many times we think we want something and then we do the complete opposite. So when I can line up those 3 things, that's what genius means to me. Because when we're in flow, people see it, you feel it, we get things done, we're productive, we're excited, we're happy, whatever all those great things are. And it doesn't all have to be positive. It's just like, whew, and it's easy. It's when we start fighting against ourselves and fighting against the grain and go uphill. That's when it's tough. So I think that's what genius means. And then when we can share that and help others become, into their genius zone, I call it the Zen zone. And so Zen Zone for me, when I teach it is about, that tranquil space that you can get into. It can be in your mind or it can be a physical space. I like to choose the bathroom because, when you're getting on stage or when you're getting into a difficult situation, you can always go, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom real quick. And then you can just decompress. And then you can start from a different place and come back fresh.
That's so true. You can always at least go hide for a moment and recompose in the bathroom. It's true. Especially if your kids lock the door, recompose.
Yeah. And there's more to it, but that's the simple version of it. I don't have it right in front of me, but I also have door hangers that say Zen Zone. I'm in my Zen Zone. Shh. That gives moms, it gives anybody, this ability to go, hey, don't interrupt me right now. Here's the boundary, because we need boundaries in life. And we also need to not break our own boundaries.
I love that you said that. And I also love that you're focusing on what do you want? Because a lot of times I think we get what we don't want because that's what we're focusing on. And I feel like the universe doesn't know the yes and no's and don'ts in there. They just give you whatever you focus on. So
correct.
Asking that question of what you want and really dialing in on answering that, not the things you don't want. But sometimes it helps us figure out what we do want, but we still have to say, this is what I want. And I think that's what, when we live in our genius zone, we're actually doing those things that we
absolutely. Yes. Our subconscious and the universe does not recognize no, don't, can't. So when we say, I don't want to fall, it hears, I want to fall. Yes.
I just want my kids to stop screaming. Well, they're going to keep screaming more.
Oh, you want the kids to scream? What? I mean, that's what the universe hears. And that's what they hear. Sure, I'm going to scream louder, Mom.
Okay, Mom, got it. I love it. And our last question for you is from a teacher's perspective. How do you encourage a child to explore new skills or passions to discover their genius?
Oh, kids are so fascinating because they don't have the filters that adults do. And so when they go, I can fly, they really believe they can fly. So encouraging that, great. Where are you flying to? How far are you flying? How does it feel like to fly? And if you just encourage that in anybody, especially kids, then that neurology sinks in and they go, I can fly, right? That I can. And that I can do anything is so amazing and limitless, because as we start to get those filters and we start to get defeats in our lives and run up against something, all of a sudden we go, oh, I can't fly. I can't put on a cape. I can't make a difference. But if you just keep encouraging, how does that feel? Remember when you could fly? Remember when you could? Yeah. Get that feeling back.
But you said especially kids. Now I'm thinking we have to do that for adults too, especially us women in these entrepreneur routes of like, I can't do this, but you can.
Yes.
And that's why we're here together.
Yes. Try this on for instance. So going back to flying, right? Supergirl, Superwoman, however you want to say her. Strike that pose, that Wonder Woman pose, that shoulders back, chest up, neck high, that intense, like loving gaze, but like strength, back straight, core engaged. We're there. How's that feel? Does that feel confident and powerful?
Good. I mean, it feels good to like just be in your power. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah. I mean, we're just about out of time. Give us your final words and how people get hold of you, and tell us a little bit more about your free gift for everyone.
Oh gosh, I love to give free gifts. So don't you love gifts? So if you want to get my free gift, it is how to have a more than amazing morning. So in just less than 10 minutes for your entire day, I'll show you how to start off your morning really great, have great productivity, feel better, release some tension in your body. Again, in less than 10 minutes a day, it's at Free Gift from Sara, SARA, freegiftfromsara.com. So that's my free gift. We can stay connected that way. And, we're going to have bad days. We're going to have difficult times. But one of the quotes from my book is, I must give to myself so that I can give to others.
I love that. That is just so like on mom like, and some moms, you need to do it once a day. Give to yourself
Yeah, because you can be an even better mom. You can be an even better human, an even better woman, an even better anything you want when you're at your best. And you can do it.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today. And we'll see you all on the next Mama Genius podcast.
on this podcast. Michelle, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us.
Bye, everyone.